Now if we move to the right side here, you can see the volume rocker buttons are on the right side. The top is where you'll find the 3.5mm headphone jack and the power button, as well as the screen lock button, so that locks the screen and you can unlock it. And then the left side has the micro USB port you can use for charging or data sync. The phone is pretty thick and pretty heavy. I mentioned this in the beginning. I wish it had a more slimmed down design. Now I understand that having a physical keyboard, you're automatically gonna have some extra bulk there. And then I think also because there is this secondary display in this panel, that also adds to the bulk. So I can understand why it is a little thicker than other devices, but that doesn't mean that I like it. I do wish it had kind of a more slimmed down design. Then the extra weight weighs 6.8 ounces, so it's a pretty hefty device. That's one thing that I'm not so hot on, but again, it may not bother you as much. On the back, you have the 5-megapixel camera. This captures 720p HD video. Let me lock the screen there. This captures 720p HD video. The camera does have an autofocus as well as a flash. We'll talk about camera or picture quality in just a minute. And then on the back, underneath the battery cover, you have, of course, the battery. And you can see it's a 1540 milliamp hour battery. Battery life has actually been pretty decent. This is a 4G device. It uses T-Mobile's HSPA Plus network. So let me show you just my battery's results, and then I'll also show you my 4G results, since I just mentioned both of those. So battery life is one of those things it's very subjective. It's going to vary from person to person depending on your usage habits. For me, in my testing, with normal use of emails syncing in the background. I have a Twitter app, so that was syncing in the background. And then, the weather widget. I have a couple of news widgets here that are going to be updating. And then just overall use of web browsing, checking my email, using Twitter. Normal use, plus all of that syncing in the background. I did actually manage to get a day of use out of it, and then into the evening or at night, I definitely had to charge it every night. With a 4G device, 4G tends to drain the battery a little bit more quickly than, say, a 3G device. And then on top of that, it is an Android smartphone, so not the most battery efficient operating system. So, don't expect spectacular battery life, and I'm gonna, guarantee that you are gonna have to charge it every night. And then, being a 4G device, it's gonna drain a little more quickly, so you probably will have to charge it maybe into the evening. It really just depends on how often or how much you use your device, how heavily you use it. For me, I was able to make it into the evening on a single charge, and then I had to charge it at night. I'll show you my speed test results here, and we'll take a look at them. Now, to begin with, the speeds were not what they should have been. I did get one of 6.3 megabits per second, but then it dropped down to like 2, 1.3, 1.7. Definitely not as fast as it should have been. I was kind of disappointed. T-Mobile's HSPA Plus network should deliver speeds faster than this, so I was kind of disappointed. But then testing it in other parts of the Dallas area, I'm in the Dallas area of Texas, and so I tested it in other parts of the city, and I did manage to get 3, nearly 4, 3.4. So those speeds, that was more of what I was expecting, more of what you should get, and then I dropped down again to 1.3. So I had a high of 6 megabits per second, and then the majority of the time it was about 2 to 3 megabits per second. Again, this is going to vary just depending on coverage in your area. You may get faster speeds than this, you may get slower speeds than this. While we're talking about data, let's go over to the web browser. And this is usually where I also start to mention the processor performance, how that performs. You can see right now I'm connected to Wi-Fi, so this isn't going to be a test of the speeds themselves. But if we go to PHONEDOG.com and we'll load up the page. So yeah, I mentioned processor performance. The phone ships with a 1 gigahertz Qualcomm processor, which is a good processor. It's a decent processor. It's generally what you find on most mid-range to, you know, somewhat high-end devices. I know a year ago, not even a year ago, you know, 1 gigahertz processor was like what all the super phones had, and so it's strange to see a phone with a 1 gigahertz processor being called mid-range, but that's where we are. And so, okay, so PhoneDog has loaded up now, and I'll show you pinch to zoom, and you can see it's, you know, pretty smooth. Not too bad. You know, we have Flash content loaded here with the advertisements, and then PhoneDog is a pretty intense website in terms of content. So pretty smooth, and we have just a couple of hiccups. So, you know, this is basically what I get in general everyday use. It's smooth for the most part, but it's not seamless. You can see it kind of just sometimes hangs a little bit. You know, web browsing is fine because, you know, I say this in reviews, you know, for the most part when you're web browsing, you're not going to be doing this. You know, that's not how people web browse. So for general, you know, panning, zooming around, or zooming and then panning around, you can see it's pretty smooth. You can see it does take a while for the text to actually render and fit on the screen, which is what it should do. It should, whenever you zoom in, it should fit the text onto the window and render it to fit to the size. We can see it kind of didn't do that as quickly as it should. So the processor was fine, but it's just definitely, sometimes there's just little hang-ups like that. We'll go back home, and another good example, just to show you basic overall performance, if I have it locked and then I open the keyboard, which will unlock the screen and take it to my home screen, you can see the delay there. It's just, you know, a second or two. Again, not a big deal. I mean, it won't bother most people, but there are phones that have, you know, faster processors that will be just, you know, instantaneous. So that's the kind of performance that you can expect overall. For the most part, it's been smooth, but definitely, you know, opening apps, closing apps, if I have multiple apps running, that's really when the phone starts to kind of hang up just a little bit. I'll go over to the Quadrant Standard app, and we'll just run a quick benchmark, and so I can give you guys the numbers if you want to see that. Okay, so here we have the results ready, and scored a 1,196, so not excellent. You can see just on this chart there's a couple of devices that are higher than that, and then, you know, even since the Nexus 1, the Droid X, there are plenty of devices that will score even higher than that. So this is about what you're getting. You know, it's about a mid-range to somewhat high-end device. So performance is, again, pretty standard. For the most part, it's going to be smooth, but you are going to notice just some lag here and there, depending on, you know, how many applications you have running. I haven't noticed, you know, whenever I'm using this secondary display, I haven't noticed this slowing down the device. You know, usually with, you know, multitasking with these two displays, that has been smooth, and, you know, resembles the same performance that I get just overall from the phone. So I haven't noticed this, you know, slowing down the device, but it's just, you know, overall that 1 gigahertz processor, Android, plus you have, you know, a custom UI on top of Android, which kind of tends to slow down devices. So, but yeah, I haven't noticed the secondary display really, you know, causing any problems. Okay, so lastly, let's go over to the gallery. My battery is about to die. It's on red right now, so we'll see if we can finish this before it actually dies. We'll go over to the gallery and take a look at some test pictures that I've taken. I said before that this had a 5 megapixel camera, autofocus with a flash. Now, the 720p, the HD video samples that I did, video quality was pretty poor. Audio quality was actually excellent. I was very surprised by, you know, how good the audio quality was, but the video quality was kind of lacking. And again, you know, there's, you know, high-end devices with a 5 megapixel camera. A lot of it just comes down to lens quality itself, even though the numbers may sound the same. Again, you know, keep in mind this is a mid-range device, so even though, you know, 5 megapixel may sound like a decent camera, the lens quality isn't the best out there. So just looking at pictures, they actually look pretty good, you know, just if your subject is, you know, 10 to 15 feet away. The detail is good, lighting has been good. You know, you can see this is a shot where the autofocus, it definitely did a good job. And the colors are a little bit dull, as you can see. You know, the reds aren't extremely red, they kind of fade out. But, you know, clarity has been pretty good, and if it's not like close-up picture, then it should look fine. It should take a pretty decent picture. It's just the problem is, you know, whenever you zoom in, you don't have to zoom in very far before you can see problems with capturing detail. If I go here, and already I can see the lines kind of blurring. So camera quality, it's about like a mid-range device. That's not a bad thing. You probably know that whenever you buy this phone, you're getting a mid-range device, and so the camera quality isn't going to be like the iPhone 4. And so as long as you know that, then it's good for considering the price, considering the phone itself and overall performance. The camera also performs basically like everything else, like it would on a mid-range device. And I think it takes fine pictures. It's just, detail isn't spectacular, and then the colors, they just look a little faded, depending on the lighting, of course. So those are sample pictures that I took. And then, like I said, HD video, video quality wasn't great, but audio quality, if that's a big deal to you, was definitely good. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's the LG DoublePlay from T-Mobile. The bottom line is, would I recommend it? For somebody on T-Mobile, would I recommend buying this phone? Honestly, this idea, the secondary display, it's awesome. I loved it. It was fun. It was useful. It just came in very handy. The problem is that I wish the phone overall was better. Typically, with a phone that performs this way, kind of hangs, the lag is something that I noticed on a daily basis. 4G speeds weren't really what they should have been. Overall, I probably wouldn't recommend the device based on, the pricing, but just, this is just so awesome. It's definitely something that you should try out. Maybe if you don't want to buy the phone, or if it's too thick and bulky for you, or the display is too small, definitely just try this out. So, it depends on your price range, depends on what you're looking for. It is a mid-range device, but that secondary display, it's pretty cool to have. So, that's the DoublePlay. Check it out in stores, see if it's something that suits your needs, and decide if something that you want. So thanks, guys, for watching. If you have any questions about this phone or just any other phone, you can send me a message on Twitter. My screen name is It's My Job to Know. I try to answer as many questions as I can. I can't get to all of them, but thanks for watching this review. I'm Sydney from PHONEDOG.com, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.